Okay. It is about 2:30 now, so we'll get started. This is the Book Talk panel, so welcome, and hopefully you're not here to see hobbits because they're in another place. But to start with, I'll go through, there are some charities and some announcements to make. I'll go through those first, and then we'll get started. The DragonCon charity partner for this year is Cure. Cure is dedicated to conquering childhood cancer through funding targeted research while supporting patients and their families. You can use the QR codes that are up here to donate. DragonCon is matching up to $125,000 this year. And our track sponsor for 2023 is Zakat. For over 22 years, they've been empowering lives through disaster relief, fund distribution, orphan care, and more. And their website is zakat.org. And there are a few QR codes on the front here. You can get the charities, you can get the tracks information there, and all those links. So that gets through all that. So welcome to the Book Talk panel. If you are not familiar with Book Talk, that is the bookish community on TikTok for readers and writers, and it has really blown up over the last few years and is a huge thing. It, like I said, is for readers and writers. All of us up here today are authors that are published that I interact with it. So but we also are readers, so we have a little bit of both there. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off and go through and introduce ourselves, and then we will go into some questions that I have prepared. After that, we have a mic here that you can come up and ask questions, and I think we'll also be taking some questions from the Twitch stream. But I'm Jason Duro. This is where you can find me on TikTok. I am a fantasy author and voiceover artist, and I make BookTok content every day. I do a lot of content around self-publishing and writing tips and those sorts of things. So you can find me there, and we'll go down the line here.
Hi, hello. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine E. Wybell. I'm also, as he said, author on BookTok. I write epic fantasy. I have a couple examples of some of my series, and I range from young adult, new adult, to even adult literature, depending on the series. And I'm just happy to be here today.
I am Marshall J. Moore. I am also a BookToker and author. My trilogy, The Rites of Resurrection, starts with Pale City with Shadow Alley Press. There are 2 sequels to that. And I just recently released my first cozy fantasy, Son of a Sailor. And you can find me on TikTok at Marshall J. Moore Author.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Huffman. I am an epic fantasy author. My first series, the Shattered series, released last year, and I have some fantasy with steampunk elements coming out later this year. And real quick, just so we have an idea, how many of you in the audience are also authors? Can we get a show of hands? And then how many of you are primarily on BookTok for reading? Okay, so good little mix.
Yeah. I am Drew Bailey. Are you guys hearing this? Okay, yeah, there we go. I am Drew Bailey. I primarily write the Giftborn Chronicles, which is a dark fantasy series. It delves into fantasy and a little bit of horror. I recently found the term splatter fantasy, so now I'm referring to it as that. It's published through Falstaff Books. So if you see anybody with these, we're a bunch of Falstaff guys and gals like running around this place having a good time. But yeah, this is my TikTok handle here, and happy to talk with you guys. Thanks for coming out.
All right. So to start with, I have a list of questions that I wanted to go through that will kind of go down the line. And we'll start down there with you since you're already primed and talking here. I wanted to ask everyone up here, how did you come to BookTok, and how has it affected your career as an author?
I think like probably most of us, it was during COVID. I just was bored checking out different apps. I just so happened to have my first book published, which is this one right here, in June of 2020. So it kind of hit right after that started. I was looking for different outlets to kind of get my book out there a little bit more, since Falstaff wasn't able to market as hard as they were before that. So I went on things like TikTok, Instagram, just kind of getting a feel for, hey, what's working? And I didn't even know BookTok was a thing on there. And yeah, like I just kind of have slowly evolved with the different, I guess, genres on there. I'm primarily with like the horror BookTok side or the fantasy BookTok side, but you know, I spent time like learning a ton about romance. I mean, I bought Ice Planet Barbarians because I was seeing that. And I enjoyed it. It's good. I even bought Barbarian Alien. So it's one of those where it's like, you can learn all different kinds of genres that you're not going to normally just know about or find or see in stores. Learn about a lot of indie authors. But yeah, like that was kind of my start.
Okay. We'll come down the line, yeah.
All right, so mine was a bit different. I definitely knew BookTok was out there. I had a critique group, and 2 of those members were very, very into it. And they're like, Emily, you have to get on BookTok. You have to. And I'm like, you want me to show my face? Like, you want me to make videos? I'm like, this does not seem like it's for me. I don't think I will. So I pushed back against them for probably a couple months until finally, I think it was the beginning of 2021. I was like 3 months out from my first release, and I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I was very, very surprised. I think some of the things that I was worried about with BookTok were true because, you know, it is a lot of putting yourself out there, being on video, having to be comfortable with showing yourself on video, which took a long time to get warmed up to. But I was very, very surprised about the community there and the way you interact that's really different and unique from other social media. And then also just the success I was having there is that, you know, and comparing TikTok to any other social media platform, it sold books and I couldn't deny that. And so that's, you know, I kept staying on the platform. I did a lot of things I don't think I would have done. I did book boxes when I released the last book in my trilogy because I saw everyone, you know, putting book boxes on there. And I'm like, those are so cute. I need some. And I also had so many people asking me, like, will you do book boxes? Will, you know, because we want them. And so it definitely helped get me in touch with a different type of reader that's much more connected. It's much more active. There's much more of a relationship with these readers than some of the readers that I found or connected with on other platforms.
I wasn't super aware of BookTok. My debut came out last October, and around June or July, my lovely wife told me that BookTok is really powerful. We're going to put you on BookTok, and that's how you're going to find your readers. And like everything else in my life, she was absolutely correct. That's all.
Okay, sorry. So I had to like look through my wig. Okay, I found BookTok, but in a little bit of a different way. I actually was avoiding it. I tried to stay away from the TikTok community in the sense that I am on so many other social medias, and I was thinking about like the time commitment to trying to engage in yet another platform to try to market my books. And I avoided it until my husband was like, you really need to get on and just try. So I finally took the leap, and it is such a powerful tool. There are so many ways you can utilize it. One, obviously, you want to sell books and get the exposure, but it's a great way to network with other people in the bookish community. Everything from the artist side, if you want, especially custom map making or stickers based on your books and fun swags, stuff like that. You can find people for that. You can find other authors in the community that may be able to help you with all sorts of fields that you don't really know well. And that's how I've been able to better myself as an author because of networking and meeting fellow authors like these.
Yeah. So similarly to some of what they are saying, when I first came to TikTok, I had the wrong impression of TikTok. I had seen that I thought that it was just a platform that teenagers would go on and do dances, and I thought that was the extent of it. And I had been trying to promote my books through paid advertising on Facebook, on Amazon, all these places, doing all the social media stuff. None of it was working for me. And then I started hearing about BookTok, that it was this thing that was taking off, that they had BookTok sections in bookstores, and people were really blowing up there. So I just tried it out, and I tried making a couple of videos, and very quickly I started gaining momentum there. And honestly, I would not have a career as an author at this point if it were not for the momentum that BookTok has given me and that the community there has given me. And so as far as sales and as far as spreading my name and making awareness of my books, it's been just instrumental in all that when nothing else worked. And the amazing thing is, at this point, I'm sure it'll change at some point, but I haven't had to spend any money on the platform, whereas with Facebook and places like that, you have to pay for the ads for people to see what you're doing. And with TikTok, you there's a little bit of luck involved, but then also some strategy to get the algorithm to start showing you to people. And if you can figure that out without investing a lot of money in it, you can really build marketing for yourself. So it's a huge tool as far as that goes. And most of us up here, everyone except Marshall, was here last year for this panel. So I wanted to kind of check in. I think you'll probably be able to answer this as well, but I'm interested in hearing from all of your perspectives, what is new or different about BookTok over the past year and what's changed? Because there's been a lot of TikTok in the news. There's been a lot of stuff that has sort of evolved in the community. So I just wanted to get each of your takes about how things have evolved at BookTok over the last year. Who would like to go first on that one?
I wasn't here.
I guess one of the things that I found wowing is over the past year, and again, trying to meet and work with, making all these connections with fellow authors and writers, I've been able to befriend a number of them who've actually gotten picked up by some of the big five publishing companies just because of their success on this platform. And for me, again, as I said, I know year to year, day to day, minute to minute, things like algorithms change and every trends change, and you do have to kind of keep your eye open on what is trendy. If it's music, is it a style of just the video that you're trying to create, and keeping an eye on the trends because they do change relatively quickly, but it keeps you on your toes, and that's not a bad thing.
No. For me, what I've noticed over the last year that has changed is that there's a shop now, and I personally found that to be an invaluable tool in helping foster a readership and build a personal connection with those readers, which we can talk more about later.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's felt a lot more competitive. I think that around last year, the strategy of reposting content or posting the same content across multiple accounts started becoming really popularized. So just the sheer amount of content on BookTok has increased. And so getting, your piece of the pie to stay as big as it was before can be more difficult now. Because I think last year it was kind of, if you could hit a certain level of engagement, you could pretty reliably expect that video to hit a certain amount of views. But this year it's like, you've got to hit that certain amount of engagement and then still have a little bit of luck.
I mean, for me, I feel like it's all in how you use it. So this year, like I feel like you can evolve your TikTok, your experience, I guess, by using it a specific way. A big way is obviously using hashtags, liking videos, and like specific things that you like on BookTok. It'll fine tune your algorithm a little bit more. But I've started to kind of reach out to other people, like artists on there, because I'm looking, to do like art, character art, and that kind of thing for the book, and expand my universe in that way, not just, a kind of a standard book, but like maps and that kind of thing. So I feel like I've evolved it that way for myself, and it's pretty easy to do that just when you see a video, following or liking that, DMing that person, whatever. And you can add those aspects to what you're doing in your writing, so it's not just like, for me, I guess, a writing community. Like, I feel like that's great, but you've got other, I guess, artists, different people that you can kind of like connect with as well, different communities that kind of like are in the same vein. So like, that's kind of like what I've seen a lot lately, but I think that that's been more tailored to what I've been trying to do. And it's just in how you use it.
Yeah. The big thing that I've seen, there are a lot of things that, like they've been talking about, that have changed over the past year. But one thing that's really significant is that the parent company of TikTok is ByteDance, and it has recognized the significance of BookTok over the past year, to the point that ByteDance is now establishing its own publishing company. It's called Eighth Note Press, and it has been reaching out to a lot of authors whose books have blown up on BookTok. That is, I feel a certain way about that, when indie authors do a lot of work to promote their books, and the books blow up and become successful from their own efforts, and then the platform that they blew up on then says, here is an offer for a contract that will give you less money to publish your book. But the ByteDance definitely recognizes that BookTok is a significant thing now, and they are trying to make money off of the authors on BookTok. So that's something that's been advent over the past year that is kind of interesting, and I have my own thoughts on that, but that's one of the things that I've noticed. And sort of following on from some of what some of you were saying, just starting out now, if someone were just starting out now as a creator on BookTok, either as a reader or as an author, what recommendations would you have for them for building their account, for building community, for anything, for creating their content? What kinds of initial recommendations or advice would you give to anyone in that position? Who'd like to go first on that one?
I'll start this one.
Okay.
So the first thing I would say is you need to go into it knowing what your goal is. Are you there to build a community? Are you there to sell books? What is your end game with your TikTok account? Because if you're just kind of trying to go viral for the sake of going viral, that's an elusive beast to be chasing. Versus if you're there because you want to sell your books, find your readers, find the people who are going to connect with the sort of thing that you're putting out there in the world. That's a much more healthy way to go about it rather than chasing a numbers game.
Yeah, in a similar vein, I would say remember that BookTok is there to serve you. You are not there to serve BookTok. Because if you start looking into, like, there's a ton of great resources out there for how to make your content better. You know, oh, you should post 3 to 5 times a day. You should be finding these trending sounds. You should be doing X, Y, and Z. And yeah, if you do all those things, it will increase your chances of success, but at what cost to you? So just remember, you know, that is a tool for you, and how much is it taking from you versus how much are you getting out of it? And just make sure that you stay aware of that and don't get caught up in types of content or things that aren't serving you, and that you are staying true to that goal, and that BookTok is adding to your life and adding to, you know, your career, and not something that's taking away from the things that you'd rather be doing.
Totally agree. I feel like, to piggyback on that, just to give my own perspective, because both of them are absolutely right. You need to have a goal, and you need to find what works for you. Like those are the two things. And a lot of times those aren't the same thing. A goal and what works for you, turns out they're not the same thing. I went through like quite a few different sides of BookTok, or like kind of trying to understand my place. Like I knew what I wrote, but I didn't know like where I fit in, even in the book community. So it took me a while to kind of like just find that. But by doing videos and kind of like finding like specific types of videos that I like to do, where I'm showing my book in one, but on the next one I might do a 3-minute video where I'm kind of talking about like something about my book, or I'm talking about something about the BookTok community. I feel like I like having that balance of finding like different things that you like, and then kind of committing to that, and maybe just a video a day to start. Like she was saying, like 3 to 5. You know, Emily, not all of us can do 3 to 5. Like
I don't do 3 to 5.
I try to do 3 a day. If I don't get there, like here at DragonCon, if I don't get there, especially, I'm like, well, I tried, you know. But I also like do batch content sometimes, where it's like, if I know I have a busy week, I'll film like 3 or 4 things back to back to back, all in a day. Keep all of those in a draft. And I wasn't doing that this time last year. In fact, I specifically sat on this panel and said, I don't do that, you know. Completely the second I started doing that, it changed the game for me on TikTok. So I felt like I liked the videos I was doing, because while I was doing them in batch, I was like in the mood to do them. I didn't feel like, if the following day I didn't feel like doing a video, I was not going to be forcing myself to do it, where I was doing that for a while. So it's also like kind of capturing like when you want to be doing this type of stuff as well. I think that definitely has a major impact on how people enjoy your videos. Like I think people can probably tell if you're just throwing together content in 5 minutes because you wanted to put something out there. So
yeah.
Yep. Sorry. I was going to cut in too. But yes, I'm glad you mentioned the drafts, because I'm all about work smarter, not harder. So batching and using the draft thing, I've been doing that like this whole time. I absolutely love it. That's how I have everything prepped for this event. I just like, oh, it's about noon, I'm going to post one, and it's lovely because I don't have to think about that. But yes, totally recommend that. Obviously, when you're getting on the platform, if you're new to it, engage, you know, you have to kind of build the algorithm to train it to show you what you want. So if you're a reader, engage with reading groups, engage with some book promoters, and it'll start showing you more and more book content like that. And again, as authors, you know, you're trying to train the algorithm, one, to show you what you want. And that helps a lot, because you can learn a lot by watching another author or a book talker, and just look at the kind of content they post, and it may inspire you. So if you're in a panic, you're like, I don't know what to do, look at some of the other people and what they do, and maybe you'll be like, oh, that's perfect for me. And that kind of alleviates some of that kind of early stage panic of, what do I say to people who I've never met before?
Can I hop in on that real quick?
Yeah, go.
And be intentional about what it is you are watching on your BookTok account, because if you're there for BookTok and for book content, I get it. We all have a wide range of interests, and I could get sidetracked very easily. But because TikTok is for books, I don't let myself get meandering into my 100 other hobbies and interests. Keep it focused on the book stuff.
If you do get sidetracked, though, you can go back. There's a place to access your liked videos, and you can unlike the ones where you got distracted. And you can also, if you click and hold on a video, like, let's say you're like me and you've spent the last week watching D&D content, and you're like, oh no, I've got to get this back on track. When you can hover on the homepage or the For You page and click not interested when those videos come up to help guide it faster than just engaging with the type of content you do want. You can also actively tell it, hey, this is not the kind of content I want.
D&D will always come up though. You're not going to be able to escape that one.
Yeah, that Venn diagram has a large circle in the middle.
I had to make a second account to be able to watch my Taylor Swift content. So. But yeah, everything that they're saying, I completely agree with. When you're first starting out, also the TikTok algorithm rewards people who are just starting on the platform. They try to hook you in by giving you a lot of views for your initial content. And the algorithm likes to reward you for the more time you spend on the platform, the more it will try to get you to stay on there by giving you views. Sometimes it'll withhold so that it's kind of like a gambling thing almost, that it'll withhold a little bit and then it'll give you some views. So it's a little bit insidious as far as that goes. But I have found that once you figure out what you're going for, once you know your goal, once you figure out how much time you want to put into it, if you are consistent with posting, and if you are, I found that the videos that I put up where I'm actually on camera and I'm talking directly to the camera, people can see my face and hear my voice, are the ones that do better. People will connect with you and will connect with you. Will kind of become a brand at that point on TikTok, and you put a lot into it to start off to really start building the audience. But I've found over the last little while that after you pass a certain point, and I've talked to some other creators who've experienced this too, when you pass a certain point, it's almost like you get momentum. And I was posting like 3 to 4 videos a day while I was building up. Lately, I've been doing more like 1 to 2 a day, and my following has continued increasing at that point. And it feels like at a certain point, there is some almost like cruise control that kicks in. I don't know if you've observed that, any of you seeing that if you drop and are only doing like 1 or 2 posts a day, or you skip a day, you still gain followers and still get views, and it keeps people coming in. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I have experienced. But in a few minutes, we want to start taking questions from the audience. And when we do that, you can line up at the microphone there. I have one question for each panelist. It's a question specific for the panelist, custom made. So I'll go through those before we do that. And the first one is for Catherine here. You use TikTok a lot for lives, and I wanted to hear about how you use lives in your strategy for building your community and for doing what you do on TikTok.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Live opportunity you get access to when you hit 1,000 followers. Now that sounds like a lot, especially if you're coming from some of these other platforms, but to get that first 1,000 followers, it's not as hard as you would expect at all. But when you hit that, then you have that opportunity to live stream through that platform. And I use it personally to feature weekly author chats. So I get another BookToker, may not even be an author, but it could be like a book promoter or anything like that. And we have a live hour and we just talk about, if it's an author, what we're writing, how we write, we're answering feeling questions, because just like any live stream, you can have people, chiming in, asking you questions. And it's a great way to engage with the community and allow them to actually have kind of more of a face-to-face contact. But it's also, for me, again, I love learning from fellow authors. I've learned something from probably everyone I've ever talked to in some way, shape, or form. And it's a great way for me to educate myself and continue the education as a writer. Other people use live streams for anything from books, writing sprints or reading sprints. And they'll set a timer, and you can invite, you do it solo. You can, I think, have up to 6.
I think it's even more than that now. They've increased it recently.
Okay, whoa. But you can invite a whole group of people, and can almost do a workshop where you just get to sit down and you work on writing your work in progress. Again, if you're on the reading side, you can kind of talk about books and your passion, and have kind of book clubs live streamed to the public. And there's a lot you can do with the live capability, and I really enjoy it. I also am able to, and I think this goes to any of the content on TikTok, from the post you do as well as live streams, there are abilities to save that content, and then you can repurpose it later on. Again, work smarter, not harder. So repurposing content I do all the time. I'll take my videos that I created and posted on TikTok and live streams, and then repurpose them on YouTube or Instagram and stuff like that. So it allows me to have content on other platforms as well. So
Okay. And Marshall, I'll give you the next one. Of the folks that are on this panel this year, you have the most followers. And I wanted to hear how that happened, how your following happened, if it blew up all at once, or if it's a gradual thing, or how you've accomplished that.
Oh, it's really easy. You just need to make a viral video with 11 million views, and the rest will do itself. So if those of you who do not recognize me from this, it was probably on your FYP at some point. Back in December, my wife and I decided to go on a little shopping spree at Barnes & Noble during their half-off hardcover sale. And she gave me, 5 minutes to scout? Yeah, 5 minutes to scout the store and 90 seconds to grab as many books as she could hold, because I'm a little bit stronger than her and that would be unfair. And we walked out of there with like 20 books or something, and we filmed a video. We filmed the whole thing, stitched it together, posted it, set our phones down, watched Glass Onion with our families, came back, and it had 2 million views. So yeah, it blew up all at once. So that my follower count at that point was, I had just celebrated hitting 3,000, and by the end of like the week, I was at 26, and it's at 47 now. But like that initial boost is great. Like I'm very thankful for it. That's the moment that sort of kicked this off for me after 6 months of diligently plugging away for that first 3,000. And then the remaining 20,000 or so that followed me since then are because the content I'm putting out is consistent and hopefully good. Yeah. So it's, like everything else with the algorithm, it's a lot of luck, but a lot more effort and just rewarding consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Okay, we've got Emily here. You use your platform for also promoting your writing with some free books. Can you talk about how you do that and if it's been effective and how you accomplish that?
Yeah, so that's something that I found really interesting, because when I first got onto the platform, I have my reader magnet, which people can get for free by signing up for my newsletter. And I originally approached advertising for it very similar to paid books, where, you're using teasers, you're using quotes, you're talking about it. So recently I started doing a different approach where, this is free content, so why don't I give it to people for free? So now that TikTok has the ability to do photos, I can actually upload parts of the book and get people to start reading it. And that's one thing that you often see, is that the more steps someone has to go through to start doing something, the more people you're going to lose. And so if I say, hey, you should read my book, it's going to be great. And then you have to say, okay, well, I'm going to click on your profile, and then I'm going to click on your link tree, and then I'm going to scroll and find where the book is. And then I'm going to click, and you've lost 95% of people at that point. So what I've been doing recently is using the photos feature to upload photos of the chapters. So to start reading it, literally all they have to do is swipe once. So you have a hook on a first slide. If that got them interested, one swipe and now they're reading it. And now an object in motion stays in motion. So once you get them to start reading it, then it's, they're invested. They've already put some time into it. They've started reading it. They want to know what happens next. So I think for my reader magnet, I have the first 5 out of 7 chapters on there. Like, we're linked where they can read the first 5 chapters just on TikTok because they want to. And that has been way more effective. Like my newsletter signups, I think I've gotten more from like one round of those posts than I had from like a month of regular, I don't post about it every day, but it's one of the things I keep in my rotation. So eliminating the barriers to getting someone to my product has been super effective. And I think it's a really unique thing with free books, because we can funnel them directly into the product in a way that you can't always with paid content, especially if you're like many of us in Kindle Unlimited and you have restrictions on where you can put your work. So that's something that I've started doing recently that's been really, really effective for me, and just kind of changing my approach because it is a different type of product.
Great. And Drew, have a question for you. We were talking about sort of training the algorithm and getting into the right side of BookTok or the right side of TikTok in general. And BookTok itself can be segmented. It's really easy to get into romance BookTok. It's really easy to get into spicy romance BookTok.
Really easy. You're like understatement of the century right there.
Right. And I know you write both fantasy and horror, so you kind of need to be in both of those sides of BookTok. Has it been hard to sort of balance that and stay in both sides of that, or how have you managed that?
So I have noticed, I do feel like the fantasy side, for instance, is more inclusive. No offense to horror, but I feel like it does kind of seem like their community is so tight knit that, and they also love it to be just horror. So when I say, I've got this fantasy book. It takes place in the fantasy world, but it's horror. It's horrific. Like it's like all horror elements. Otherwise, people are leery on that. But I needed to kind of understand. I felt like I understood what I was writing, and that's kind of why I made the comment earlier about the splatter fantasy. Is that horror TikTok? I feel like has blown up this year. Like I'm not going to say it's the new romance, and it never probably will be that, but it's immensely more popular than say like a year ago when I feel like it was on there, but I wasn't seeing so many like big named authors kind of like in the community and really sort of like getting their stuff out there. And now you've got like Christopher Triana and, you know, Daniel J. Volpe and those kinds of authors that are putting out book after book after book. And it's kind of given me a platform to say, yeah, like I'm writing something very similar to this. So I feel kind of like you can kind of hit both sides of the spectrum, I guess.
Okay.
And I think it's a kind of a niche to me because I do write a little bit in both. But I also think that, yeah, when you first start out, if you haven't already kind of delved into BookTok, I think most of us probably were hitting the romance stuff first because that's massive. And then you kind of like can more tailor it to like what kind of specific other genres you want.
One thing that was kind of funny that I found was I, of course, as with everybody, found the romance people first, and I don't write romance at all, but I got a lot of followers. My initial followers were almost all like spicy romance authors and readers, and over that time, I've converted a lot of them into reading my non-spicy fantasy and have kind of made fans out of them, so it's possible to get some crossover and kind of move it a little bit.
So I do have a little bit of spice in my books. And, you know, it's like maybe a chapter or two, like I'm not overloading it, but that does exist in these books. And so that's probably the number one question that I get from people, comments in my section. Whenever I show my book, they're like, yeah, but does it have spice? And I have to go like, yeah, I mean, it does, but like, it's not like a spicy, like it's not smutty, like it's, you know.
It's not Ice Planet Barbarians.
Right. It's not. I've read it. I know it's not on that level, but. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. No, I'm fine with that. That's perfectly fine.
All right. At this point, if you have questions, you can come up and line up at the mic here. We're going to take questions from the audience. And then also if we have any coming in on Twitch, I don't know if any might have shown up yet. But... Okay. Yeah, come on up.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. What advice or things would you recommend for a writer who is not published to like promote ourselves before like we publish like our book or still in like the writing stages?
Yeah. I can jump in first. I would say as far as in general, as far as promoting yourself before you have actually published, one thing that is a really good resource that you can have that isn't BookTok specific, but it's good to have your own mailing list that is your email list you can start building, because if something happens on one of your social platforms, if your TikTok gets shut down for some reason or your Facebook or something, you will own your own email list of people who are interested in your books. And I feel like it's never too early to start building that. You can send out email newsletters to followers telling about what you're working on, what your process is, what books you're reading, things from your life, and sort of sell yourself as the product before the book comes out so that the readers get engaged with you as an author and as a person. And as far, I've got to fly around me here, but as far as TikTok goes, I would say go ahead and get on there and start talking about books that you love that are similar to what you're writing and sort of get the vibe out there for what you're going to be working on, and people will get invested in you as a person, and then they will want to support what you release when it does come out.
Yeah, I was going to jump on that as well. But yes, definitely start building your platform right now. So whatever, 1 to 2 social media or more that you want to get involved with, do it now. Get on there. People love supporting someone who's in the creative stages. So you can say, hey, I only wrote, 100 words today. I wrote 100,000 in a week, whatever it is, you can talk about your progress, get people excited about what you're excited, which is your work. And hopefully by the time when you do reach the publication stage, you'll already have a bunch of followers who are ready to buy your book right then and there. So that's a great way is, again, talk about it now, get people excited about it now, don't wait, and you could be very surprised. Also, it's another great way. I've seen a lot of authors have huge successes going on and posting a video about, hey, I'm looking for an editor, or hey, if you have any questions on your, any question you have as wherever you are in your writing progress, ask it. And there are so many people that you'll probably get too many answers, but you'll get a lot of answers. And people love trying to help each other out in the BookTok community, at least from my experience.
Yeah. So similarly, if there's one thing I have learned from marketing my books is that you can't market quality. It's not enough to say this book is good. We all think our books are good. Hopefully we're right about it. What you're doing when you're marketing on BookTok is you're not only selling your book, you're selling yourself. You are selling the narrative of this is who I am. This is what I'm writing. This is my journey. And I want to take you, the person watching this BookTok, along with me on that journey. So you're building a fan base by letting yourself be emotionally vulnerable and open in public, which is scary and hard, but it's also very rewarding because when your book is out there, and even before it's out there, you find people who connect with you on a personal level, and then you will have that readership already built in. And that's really cool.
On the other side of it, like everything they've said about platform is fantastic, but while you're in the trenches is one of the best times to figure out how are you going to market your book from a like genre standpoint. So you should be able to answer the question of where would this book be in a bookstore? What are authors that are similar to me? What are main characters that would be similar to my main characters? If it has multiple different genres, what elements is it taking from which genres? What is your, what if question? What are different ways that you can position your book and tell someone about your book in 15 seconds or less? And if you can figure out those questions while you're writing, you can figure out, what are the marketing strengths of this book? How am I going to position it? And then how can I make sure that my writing leans into that so that the people who are biting on these marketing hooks are getting the product that they hope and are getting something that they're going to be satisfied with. So I think while you're writing is one of the best times to start being aware of those marketing questions and making sure that not only are you writing the story you want, you're writing a story that you can tell other people.
And I would say, all of that's great advice. From the TikTok side too, I would say for something that I was doing as a marketing thing when I first started on there was just talking about my writing experience. It might be like a little 10-second joke video where I'm using a trending sound, or it could be something where I'm taking a minute to go, this is what I've been doing over the last week. A lot of the videos I've been still doing to this day and my favorite ones to do are, this is a writing update video for what I did in August, and I just kind of discuss, I wrote this many words, this is kind of where I'm at in the story. And I feel like people were really responsive to that. So, and you don't have to be published. Like people will take a general interest, just as, what your story is about even before you're published.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hi guys.
Hi there.
Can I get an idea of your film schedule and how many times you post a day?
Yeah, who wants to go first?
I'll go first for once. Thanks for never asking me to go first, Jason. I do I kind of have a weird, I work remote. So I have a film schedule that I try to adhere to. Every once in a while I can get busy. So that's why I like to have batch videos. But generally, I like to, from a posting standpoint, I like to post 10 a.m. and then I'll do 1 p.m. and then maybe around 5 or 6 p.m. And I like to stick to that. And I'd say that probably works 80% of the time for me. So I don't like to rapid fire videos, but kind of spread them out evenly through the day while I'm awake. But I would say from a filming standpoint, I like to film on the weekends, typically on Sunday. So if I know that I was going to do a batch, I would take a 2 or 3 hour period of time. I go through and I collect a bunch of just favorite sounds or music that I like or that kind of thing. And I just kind of have specific video types that I would use that for. I've got one where I'm just doing this. I'm just like this with my book and that's it. And I just put a fun little blurb about it. And a lot of times I get the most views from those videos and I'm just using a trending sound Sleep Token is massive right now. And I just throw one of their sounds on there and people are like, I bought your book because you have a Sleep Token sound, so you just find what kind of works. But that's kind of my general schedule, and I guess.
Yeah, I agree with batch making content is definitely the way to go. I have a favorites list. So whenever I'm just browsing TikTok for myself, it's called ideas. And so whenever I see another author do something that I think is good, or whenever I see a sound that I think I could apply, I just immediately go and save that video to the list. And I found that to be way more helpful than favoriting the sounds, because then when I was favoriting the sounds, I would go listen to the sound and I'd be like, why did I think this would be helpful?
I for real sometimes spend hours like just listening through my sounds, just like, oh, I forgot I saved that one.
Yeah, it's like, what was past me thinking? I hope it was good, but I don't know anymore. So that's why actually adding the videos themselves to a list means I have that context, so I can see, okay, this is why I thought this sound would be helpful. And so I would love to say that I have like a put together schedule, but it's really batch content. Do trending sounds as they come up. I make those videos organically and I'll post those. And then if I have a lot of batch content, I post a lot of videos in a day. If my batch content starts getting low, I might be posting one a day for a couple days until I know I'm going to have another, couple hours to sit down and make another batch.
I don't know if I can swear on Twitch. So when I have my stuff together, I usually batch. On weeks when I don't have my stuff together, I at least try and plot it all out on like Sunday and then film through the week. And that's usually going to be either midday in between writing sessions when I have time. Or if I really don't have my stuff together, it's after I get home from work at like 8 p.m., slap it together and post around 9.
Yeah, and for me, I'm a creature of habit, so I post 3 times a day when I get up, around 3 and then around 7 at night. And one of the reasons why I like to do kind of 2 on the earlier side of the day is because I'm still trying to make sure when I do post something, I hit the European market, because they're still awake. And so I usually have whatever the video I feel like I'm most confident that's going to do okay, is the one I do early on, because I'm like, well, you have Europe still up and active and parts of the US is getting up and moving, and just time-wise, I feel like that's, in theory, sounds like it should work. Now, you never know which video is going to be the one that catches people's attentions. It's usually not the one you spent like hours working on. It's usually the one that you just randomly took 2 seconds and just threw something out there, and that's the one that goes. But yeah, I batch videos Monday and Friday, and again, just work with my cycle.
Yeah. My content is usually a combination of videos where I'm talking to the camera, giving tips and giving information from my own experience. And I also make the trending audio videos. They're usually visual puns or jokes or things like that. I try to put out 1 video of me talking to the camera each day, and usually at least a couple of the trending audio ones. So I try to do at least 3 videos a day. Lately, I've been doing 1 or 2, but I have found from my own personal stats that my followers engage the most around 5 p.m. Eastern. And so I usually try to get my video that I really want to get out there close to that time or a little bit before then. I usually don't post anything before 1 p.m. Eastern, and I usually don't post any later than like 7 p.m. Eastern, but I don't know how that really works, if that is really the cause for a lot of views or anything that feels right to me. And the videos that I've been posting lately that have gotten the most traction have been ones that are specifically about publishing news or book news, things that are breaking news, like if an independent publisher changes the percentage royalties that you can get or things like that, I will do sort of a breaking news kind of video, and those do really well. So that's kind of my strategy. I do batch the videos where I record and I'm talking to the camera, but the trending audio ones, I'll typically record those and put those right out, because I've found that when I save the audios, they kind of go stale before I can actually record them, because you have to act kind of quickly on the trending audios. And sometimes they'll last for a few days, but sometimes I'll find them and need to act on them right away in order for them to get any traction. So that's been my experience with it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, you are my #1 news source for BookTok, by the way. Like I love that you post those videos, man. I hope you keep doing it.
Yes, I
did
have
want
a
to pause
critique
you.
group, and it very frequently gets Jason's videos sent in it as they're like, did you see this?
This panel's been fabulous so far, so thank you for that. ByteDance have been accused of aggressively scraping data, more so than something like Instagram or Twitter. They've also been accused of links with the Chinese ruling party, which runs one of the most aggressive surveillance apparatuses on Earth. I'm not for a moment suggesting anyone on this panel is necessarily supportive of that, but I am curious about your thoughts on that topic.
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah, I can go.
You go. Okay.
I know my data is going to get out there, so I might as well be getting something out of it. It's kind of the approach I take. Like, when you get onto any of these sites, there's going to be a chance it's happening, and to actually like fully protect your data. I used to work in fraud, so I know there is a lot of information out there, and to actually like really keep your privacy, you would have to go to a lot of extremes that a lot of us in the digital age are not willing to. So that's just kind of the approach I take with TikTok, is that is some stuff happening behind the scenes that I maybe wouldn't like? Maybe. I'm gonna not think about it. But because I'm, enjoying the app, I'm getting this community out of it, and that's the trade-off.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's sort of a cost benefit thing. I'm getting more book sales out of it than I would without it, and that's my main concern. As for the security stuff, I'm sure the NSA has a backdoor through all the American-based apps as well. So, like, do I trust either government? No, not really. But hey, at least I'm selling books.
Yeah, that covers everything I was going to say. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah. Same. Like, I mean, I get text messages from random like political parties no matter what as well. So like, and I was getting that way before I was on TikTok. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. So I very much feel like it's all kind of the same. Like, I feel like my data's out there. People have it somewhere. So I might as well make money as well as I can.
We've already sold our souls.
Yeah.
We're a lost cause.
For books.
Good enough reason. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you all for being here. My question is, so with posting and writing and work and everything, how do you deal with burnout and combating burnout and not, dealing with that?
I embrace the burnout. I live on
Okay.
burnout.
I'll let you know when I find out.
Yeah.
No, I've found that is absolutely a thing that happens when you start making content and making content as aggressively as I have done. There isn't as much time to write, to edit, all that. It has delayed the release of my next book, and it's definitely something to be concerned about. It's something to be aware of. I don't really have a solution for it myself because I am a person who takes on way too much at a time, and I push myself. And so I don't know if any of you might have a cheat code for me. But,
I guess all I can say is, like, for me, I kind of already have an idea now that I've done it enough, like how much time a week that I'm putting into this platform. And I kind of, have my schedule and I kind of follow it and try to keep to it, which means limiting, hopefully, theoretically, my screen time on the app. And that kind of does help me or prevent me from hitting burnout, but I'm sure that will happen at some point too.
Yeah. I'm still in the process of finding a adequate answer that I'm happy with to that question. Part of it, I think, is finding a way to protect your writing time. Whatever block of time you can set aside that you can make sacrosanct, put your phone away, do not disturb me, and just have that be your writing time. Let that hour or 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever amount of time you can reasonably set aside for yourself, for your writing, be the measure of how much you got done writing-wise that day, rather than a word count, which we are all tend to miss as being the focus. I'd love to get as many 1,000 words out a day as I want to, but some days that's just not plausible, and I need to embrace the fact that any progress is progress.
Yeah, and be aware of yourself and your own limits and be willing to take breaks. So that is something that I was off TikTok for many months at the beginning of this year because I really wanted to focus on drafting my next book. Because like Jason said, I have had times in the past where books got delayed because I was spending too much time on these marketing efforts. And one of the best ways to market your books is to write more books. So I had to be really realistic with myself that as much as I love my community on TikTok and as much as I enjoyed being on there, it was taking away from my main goal, which was writing. And I had to say, okay, I'm going to take this break and I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to be nice to myself about it. I'm not going to hold myself against it. And I'm not going to compare myself to these other authors because for some authors, being on social media, putting out this type of content, it is something that gives them energy and gives them motivation and fills them up. And for many of us in this room who might be introverts, it is definitely something, even if you're enjoying it, that takes away and drains. And it's, it's a lot of mental and emotional energy that writing also demands. And so sometimes you can't do both. So just being willing to take those breaks when you need them and not hold it against yourself. And also, don't be afraid to repost content sometimes if you need to. TikTok is really unique in that a lot of times it's being shown to new people. Like on Instagram, if you're reposting content, your followers are gonna be like, why is this the third time you've posted this week?
Right.
On TikTok, you don't see that. Like you're getting so many new people. So even if it feels old to you, and it's not something that I would do, all the time, make sure you're putting fresh content and stuff out there too. But if you know you're heading towards burnout and you want to keep your consistent posting, don't be afraid to use that as a fallback method, or just have backup plans so that you can be compassionate with yourself and recognize when you're headed that way, and then go to something that's maybe a little less taxing.
I mean, I do think that burnout's it's a different experience for everyone. And I feel like it is really hard to give you like proper, like my burnout is going to be different. I do kind of feel like for me, I could tell you what I do. I play a buttload of World of Warcraft, classic. I haven't tried hardcore yet. I'm excited for that. But I choose not to get on my computer and write there. But what I'll do is I go through moods where I like just want to watch TV. So it's like I'll find a TV show that, like The Witcher or something like that, was one that happened to me recently, where I had a notebook next to me. Witcher's similar to something that I write. So if I hear something, see something that I like, I can type, write a sentence. So I'm still kind of like doing something that's writing, even though I'm not technically. And so I ended up coming out of that. Like I had kind of like burnout for like a week and a half, we'll say, where I just really wasn't writing at all. And when I came back to it, I had 3 pages worth of notes that like I immediately was able to just like dump that into writing and make up for it. So I try to like beat it in that way. Otherwise, just finding things that I really kind of enjoy. And also like for me, reading time and writing time are the same thing. So like it pulls from the same like bubble of energy that I have. So I can't do both at the same time. A lot of times I'll start reading, like I just read Priory of the Orange Tree finally, because that thing is a massive chunk of a book and I wanted to read a big book. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to write. So it's like just kind of like putting it into something else that also keeps my mind kind of in the back of my mind with writing kind of has helped me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got, I think, about 10 more minutes left here. I want to make sure we get through all the questions. So we'll if anybody doesn't have anything to say, we'll skip to who does on this, and we'll keep things going. If we run out of time before the last questions, you can ask us afterwards, and we'll be happy to answer. Just want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered.
Okay, so I've been on the other socials, but I'm new on TikTok. And you talk a bit about the author as a product. So I was wondering how you deal with negative comments, DMs, and parasocial relationships, specifically on TikTok. Is there a way that you all handle that?
Block. It's really that easy. People have to be jerks on the internet. There were a lot of weird comments when the Barnes & Noble video blew up about like, your wife is being controlling. It's like, we made a game. Games have rules. Like that's, otherwise it's just a video of me shopping. And those people, they get blocked. Like I've interacted with you for all of 5 seconds and I've enjoyed 0 of them. I don't need to further interaction. And like, you got to protect yourself.
I agree. I forget who said it, but someone out there said, if you have a problem with me, text me. If you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me. And just like keeping that mindset of these people on TikTok, they don't know you. They're making negative comments about that's more a reflection on them than it is on you.
Yeah.
So block and move on.
You can always delete comments if you don't want to go all the way to the block route.
Well, the other side of it, there is the negativity where you can block that, but then the other side is the parasocial relationships, which I have experienced a lot myself because my platform in there is based around kindness and helping people and things like that. And so there are a lot of people that have found me on there that know a lot about me and feel like we are very close, and I haven't met them before. I don't know them. And so in those kinds of situations, I try to, I haven't had anything that's been like a stalkery kind of thing, but there have been a lot of situations where it's a one-sided thing where they feel like they know me and we have this connection. And in those situations, I appreciate that they are getting a lot out of my content and are forming this relationship with me. And I try to respond to that kind of thing with kind of a careful kindness where I try not to foster the idea that there is this deep connection or deep relationship, but I try to acknowledge appreciation for the time that they spend on my content and sort of foster that relationship with them and make them into a friend at that point. And at some point, it probably will become too much to have that many people that I'm talking to like that. But I do try to pursue with that.
And going with the fact that I do a lot of lives, and of course, there's always a chance that a troll will pop up and post something really weird on the live stream. And all I do is I ignore it. I don't mention it and just continue on with whatever the topic, whoever I'm talking with that day. And people get bored and they move on. And that's kind of how I leave it. I don't engage.
Absolutely. Don't engage. Also, if you get bad reviews, don't engage. Just, you know,
We all know that.
everyone's got an opinion, you know, so that's their opinion. That has nothing to do with you. So, like, yeah, don't engage.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Andrew.
Hi there.
So as a niche author who, let's say, writes a steampunk story, how would you go about getting that into the right audience hands? Because not everybody reads or is interested in steampunk. So it's a little hard to make sure that you're getting it, especially on a vast volume of people like BookTok. And how do you make sure you're getting to the right people, especially using stuff like
I would say
hashtags?
hashtags.
Okay.
Like, that's how I was able to find like splatter fantasy and that kind of thing, is like, once you hear like some sort of phrase, like go after that. So yeah, I would immediately, every video I put in it talking about every video you have talking about your book, I would include steampunk or steampunk books as a hashtag, and that'll kind of fine tune your algorithm. So you're getting that out to people that also follow that, and you know, that's high on their algorithm as well.
Okay.
And vice versa. You can also search a hashtag and then start following other people's hashtags who used steampunk. And again, you're trying to build an algorithm to understand what you are, what you're interested in, and again, try to train it where to show your content. So.
Okay.
Especially with niches,
Mhm.
find the authors in your genre and in your niche that are doing what you want to do, and then see how they're branding their content, how they're doing it, and honestly reach out to them and see, because most of the authors that I've found on there, you know, some might just say, hey, sorry, I'm busy, or ignore you, but most are very willing to help, and the worst they can do is say no. So
Nothing to add. Co-signed, all three.
Absolutely. They got it covered. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm a creator on TikTok, but my content isn't on BookTok. So I have a healthy following. I started a new TikTok to promote my writing. Do you have any strategies of how to kind of engage with your other fans and see if they can, I don't know, kind of like use that fan base that you've built and not necessarily start all over with writing TikTok, but perhaps how to get people of different interests that already follow you into your side projects or whatever you're doing with writing?
Do you have two different accounts that you're using?
I have
Or-
two, yeah.
Okay. But you're trying to kind of like see how many people are in account A
Yeah, just
interested
to see
in-
like if they already follow me as one creator, is there any way to engage them and perhaps get them to be interested?
I
in
would
your other
probably,
projects?
if I were in that situation, I would definitely, I'm sure you've done this too, let people know in like your main account, hey, I'm doing this too. So if you're
Mhm.
interested, you know, I would start doing videos like that and maybe do it daily, unless I feel like you're starting to get like feedback from people that are just like, I don't like, you know, you're losing followers basically. But that's how I would start, because you've already got the big account there, and that's the only way to get them, you know, I guess, to that second account.
Right.
Yeah. But
And you can always pin a post too. Like if you on your main account mention, hey, you want to, if you're interested in the book side of things, you can join me on this other handle, and pin it, and you know, in case people find you there who like to check on your particular content.
And I would also suggest specifically to ask your current followers to share content that you post on the new account, because they're already engaged with you. And if they go over and see the new account and they start sharing it, then that will get it out to more people who might not even be your followers already, but that'll just sort of help boost those videos and bring more people in with the algorithm. So there are little hacks like that you can use to train the algorithm to show your stuff more.
Yeah. And you already have the skill set and knowledge of what works for you on your main account. And while BookTok will be different than whatever your regular following is, and there will be some subtle differences there, those skills and the overlap there does still apply. You'll be able to build a different fan base based off that using those skills.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anything from Twitch up there? Okay, we are getting close to the end here, so we can maybe run down the line here and give some last thoughts. You want to start down there and work this way, or? Sure. And give maybe where folks can find you, and some last thoughts here as we close out.
Man, I'm just going to be here like you guys now. I was just here for this panel, and now I'm just, it's party mode, you know? So just hanging out with family and friends. I've got a few copies of the book if you want to come check it out here. I've got a card that does have a QR code on it. So if you want to check out my website, I'm working on that. And I've got the first 2 volumes of the Giftborn Chronicles, my dark fantasy series, out. And I'm proud to announce that I just learned 2 days ago that volume 3 is going to be released in September. I think it'll be September 21st, but haven't had the exact date yet, but I've been promised this month by Falstaff. So yeah, we'll see.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Right. Yeah, you can find me. I have my handle on here. I have some books that need a home. So if you are an epic fantasy reader, I only have 3, so don't stampede, but
Yeah. You can find me at Marshall J. Moore Author on TikTok and Instagram. I'm pretty regularly posting on both of those, as well as at my website, marshalljmoore.com. As for today, I'm about to head back to the vendor hall where I will be selling copies of all 4 of my books at the Shadow Alley Press booth, which is 2820, second floor of the vendor hall, directly across from the Chick-fil-A. And I'll be doing signings specifically there tomorrow from 1 to 2 and Monday from noon to 1. So if you're in the vendor hall at either of those times, come say hi.
Yeah, and so my handle is Catherine E.Y. Bell, as you see written here. And I guess for me, it's I'm on a lot of different social media, and you can find me pretty much anywhere. As far as this event, I have a number of panels. Hold on. I got it. For people on the bookish side of things, I have later today Writing Outside Oneself. So that will be a panel talking about how does authors create characters that have vastly different life experiences than they do and make them believable. Tomorrow, I have 2 different panels. One is Viking impact on British history. If people like the history side of things, since I do write Viking fantasy, I was invited on that panel. And then tomorrow evening, I'm also in self-publishing for young adult authors. So if you write young adult, you can also attend that panel and see me again. So I'm around in different costume.
Good luck finding her.
Yeah. I am Jason Duro, author on the socials, and I have a card you can pick up here that has all my other links. I'm most active on TikTok and on Threads, believe it or not. I like that platform a lot. And I'm going to be doing 2 more panels here tomorrow. They're on the fantasy literature track. I'm doing one that is about writing villains and doing one that's about writing magic and politics. And these are the books that I have out right now, Akathar's Greatest Trick and The Gem of Tagath. They're both in my Teshuvah series. You can read either of them first. And thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you and hope you have a great rest of DragonCon.
Do we applaud you?